What's up, and welcome to Surging Ahead. This is Brett, and today we're going to talk about Tesla's driver monitoring system. You may have noticed that almost any time a Tesla gets in an accident, the first question that's asked is, was it in autopilot mode? And then we typically get a response back from Tesla saying whether it was or was not, and what was being monitored in that situation. Because of that, and because of a super bad accident that happened in the Texas area very recently, I wanted to talk about what that monitoring system is, how it works, and does it do a good job of telling if you're actually paying attention. So stick around and we'll dig right in. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start off by looking at the story from the accident that happened in Texas. This story here is from clicktohouston.com, in which they say, "No one was driving the car. 2 men dead after fiery Tesla crash in spring," officials said. So if you look here, you can see the remains of a, 100% totaled Tesla Model S. And tragically, 2 people were killed as a result of this accident. They have a quote from the owner who said, from the brother-in-law of the owner who said, "The owner," he said, "backed out of the driveway and then may have hopped into the back seat only to crash a few hundred yards down the road. He said the owner was found in the back seat upright." All right, so that's what the story reads. There are a lot of things about that story that don't necessarily add up to me. I think it may very well come out that the car was not actually in autopilot at the time of this accident, but I don't think that's important to what we're getting at here. And the questions are, with Tesla's driver monitoring system, does it do a good enough job of preventing people from circumventing the system to not pay attention to drive? So let's talk about what they have to monitor the driver. The main component in the Tesla system for monitoring the driver is a torque sensor on the steering wheel. So Tesla has what is referred to as a nag every 17 seconds or something like that, where it will ask you to apply pressure to the steering wheel in like a turning motion. So the easiest way to kind of make sure it always has pressure is to rest your hand on the wheel, but not at the very bottom, at a side, so you have some kind of constant pressure on it to make sure that the sensor is aware that you have pressure on the wheel. This definitely has some drawbacks, but we'll get into that later. Right now, we're just going to talk about what the sensors actually are. There's also a sensor in the vehicle, and you'll notice this, I notice this most in car washes and stuff like that, in that if you get off of the seat, it will often just throw the car, it has a sensor for the weight to tell if the driver's there, and if there is no weight there, it will stop the car, right? I'm not going to test this to see how it works in autopilot, so I can't actually guarantee that this system does affect autopilot, but I can tell you when trying to use a car wash or even a drive-through, if you're not paying attention and you get all your weight off of the seat, it can lead to some ridiculous scenarios. I would have to imagine that at high speeds, they would deactivate that in some way so that you don't, lift up to get something and suddenly your whole car just stops moving or whatnot. But I don't actually know what that system is, so I'd like to see something further. The other thing they have is the seatbelt monitoring. So let me pull up a video here. Okay, so here is Brandon EE916's response to the Tesla FSD accident in Texas. This is a Twitter thread and a YouTube video he posted. In this video, what he does is he goes out and activates full self-driving mode in his car and then has his passenger record what happens when he removes the seatbelt. So I'll play a quick excerpt of the video just so you can get a taste of kind of what it looks like. So here we go.
Going to turn on FSD mode. Now I don't have a nav point set. I'm going to unbuckle This is what happens immediately. The car literally has come to a stop and put on my hazards.
Okay, so in that video, you can see that he activates full self-driving. The car is in it. He unbuckles the seatbelt. The car freaks out and then pulls over to the side of the road. Now, Brandon does have the full self-driving beta, so this test is not quite the same as what it would be in likely the version of the car that had the tragic accident. But it does go to show that there are sensors in the vehicle that detect the seatbelt itself, and that if you remove the seatbelt, a Tesla in FSD mode gets extremely angry. So what does this all mean? This means if this accident did in fact occur on autopilot, this person would have had to have buckled in his seat in the car, placed some sort of weight on the seat in the car, and then had some way of making sure that there was torque on the steering wheel at all times in order to start the car up, get it moving in autopilot, jump into the back seat, and have the car continue to move. Okay, now having said all of that, all of these things are possible. This person absolutely could have tricked this system into doing this. And possibly with deadly results, such as what we saw out of this accident. Now, I still don't know specifically if this accident occurred in autopilot. And once again, I don't think that's important. What is important is that even though it takes great effort to do, the system that monitors drivers in a Tesla is something that people are able to override and do incredibly stupid things in. So then the question becomes, is it Tesla's responsibility to stop people from being stupid? Or just their responsibility to make sure that at least if someone is legitimately carrying enough to be behind an automobile, that they are being safe and paying attention? I don't have a good answer for that. I don't know if you can build a system that is completely incapable of being bypassed, but I do think that Tesla could do a better job by having driver monitoring with cameras. There was a report from Consumer Reports just a few months ago where they evaluated several of the level 2 driver assistance products on the road. And they found in that study that as far as technical capabilities go and the ability to be used in the most places and actually keep your lane and drive, Tesla's system was the best. However, they found that the way that Tesla monitored drivers to be inadequate. They felt that it was too easily ignored, it was sometimes inaccurate, and it just did a really bad job of actually proving that the driver was paying attention and encouraging them to do so. And while I feel like the Tesla system is mostly fine, and as someone who owns some share in the company, don't relish them possibly having to do a major amount of servicing to bring all these vehicles up to code and to have them have some sort of camera to monitor all drivers, nor do I love the idea of having a camera monitoring me at all times while I'm driving a vehicle. I have to think that these stories, such as this accident in Texas, do not happen if Tesla is using monitoring of the driver's eyes to make sure they're paying attention. In addition to that, if that happens, I probably don't have to keep my hand on the steering wheel at basically all times. Which, let me go into a small rant here. That system is pretty bad. There have been multiple times while I'm driving on the road with my hand on the wheel, paying attention to the road, and I suddenly get loud beeping noises because apparently I don't have enough torque on the wheel for it to sense my hand moving. So then I have to kind of move my hand around really quickly to try to make the steering wheel recognize that I'm doing it, potentially putting myself at risk of accidentally taking my car out of the autopilot mode and onto standard cruise control because I steered too hard, which overrode the sensor. So, look, it's not a big problem. It doesn't happen that often, but it is annoying. And it does show that at times Tesla reports that drivers are not paying attention when they are. When they have their hands on the wheel and doing everything else, I still get nags telling me I'm not doing it right, which, in the case of an accident can lead to false reports or whatever else. Now, like I said, it doesn't happen that often. And if it does it enough, it turns off autopilot and you're forced to pull over to the side of the road and restart it. It's not the end of the world. And their driver monitoring system does work pretty well. But I'm tired of seeing these stories. I'm tired of seeing people die because the full self-driving suite is not ready to be full self-driving. I don't think it's going to be ready for level 4, level 5 for a while. At least another 12 months, to be honest with you. Maybe longer. Maybe years. And every time we see this happen again and again and again, it's going to be in the news. It jeopardizes their ability to even continue with this program. And quite frankly, I would rather, instead of having to go from level 2 to level 4, be able to have a level 3 solution, where at least when I'm on the interstate, I can sit there and pay attention to the road without having to keep my arm on the steering wheel at all times. It's silly. It doesn't really help. That system is ready for level 3. Tesla, bite the bullet. Improve your full self-driving sensor suite for the driver monitoring piece, and get us to a place where you no longer have to worry about these headlines, and we can enjoy the comfort of a level 3 driving system like it should be now. Anyway, those are my thoughts on what Tesla's doing now, what they should do going forward, and why their sensor suite for monitoring drivers is just not what they need to have to get to this next step. Sure, if level 4 were a couple days away, fine. We're at the point where you're not going to need the driver monitoring, but I don't think it is. And I think Tesla has a lot more of these bad stories coming their way if they can say, well, all the driver has to do is these 3 things to trick it, and suddenly the car will try to go in full self-driving mode until it crashes because it's not yet a true full self-driving car. It is level 2. It assists. It's pretty good. Really good, really. But it does still make mistakes. The driver needs to pay attention, and Tesla needs to do their best to make sure that the driver is paying attention. So please, Tesla, Elon Musk, anybody who's listening, let's step up. Let's bring all the cars in that don't have a driver monitoring camera. Let's put one in, and let's switch from torque sensors on the steering wheel to eye tracking to make sure that someone is paying attention. These headlines go away. More importantly, these accidents go away. People don't die because of this. And we still get to develop what will be an instrumental technology for humans going forward. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been Brett with Surging Ahead. Have a good day. And if you like my video, please like and subscribe. Thanks. Goodbye.